Health Secretary Sajid Javid is here. And before we start proper, Mr. Javid, I just want to remind our viewers of these images that we saw towards the end of last week when a hospital was hit. It was a maternity hospital. This is what happened. This was a lady that was being stretchered out of that maternity hospital. I'm sure you'll remember the images. We believe, we were just hearing actually, that she had a caesarean section and the baby has died, and we're now also being told that mum has died as well. Remember that the Russian authorities said that it was fake news. Is that a war crime?
Yes, I think it is. It's an appalling atrocity. It's a war crime because under international law, you cannot attack health facilities, hospitals, and in fact, the most recent information I have from the World Health Organization is they now have documented evidence of at least 31 such attacks of health facilities, hospitals, including shelling a couple of days ago of a cancer hospital as well. So these are war crimes. Today, the Justice Secretary will be in The Hague. He'll be meeting there with the Chief Prosecutor and others to offer Britain's help in helping to gather the evidence, but also with a future prosecution of President Putin and his team.
And the hospitals right across the country that have been hit?
They're right across the country, yes. These are appalling atrocities.
And when the British Embassy, the Russian Embassy in Britain says that it's fake news, how should we deal with that? I know that that tweet has subsequently been taken down by Twitter, but nevertheless, that's the propaganda that they're...
I mean, the only fake news is everything we hear from Russia. I mean, Russia is... We saw this in this country with the Salisbury attacks, and it's continued ever since. And we can see for ourselves what's actually happening. We've seen from Brave Sky reporters. We heard just yesterday an American journalist was killed by the Russians. So
targeted by the Russians.
Targeted, killed, and it's an opportunity for me actually to say thanks to all the journalists that are out there risking their lives, bringing us the real facts and the real news of what's actually happening on the ground.
Okay. 15-minute drive away from the NATO border, if you will, aka Poland, there was an attack yesterday. 35 people died. It's edging ever closer to a challenging NATO. What happens if there is a missile just the other side into the NATO border?
Look, we've been very clear, even before the war started, that if there was an attack on any NATO country, even if just a single toe cap of a Russian soldier steps into NATO territory, then it will be war with NATO, and NATO would respond. And that hasn't changed throughout this conflict, and there would be a significant response from NATO if there was any kind of attack from Russia, and we've been very, very clear from that.
The Polish president wants to go further than that. Our Polish president is saying if there is chemical attacks in Ukraine, then it's a war that NATO should get involved with. What's Britain's position on that?
But we've been clear about any kind of attack on NATO would be obviously unacceptable.
If there's an attack in Ukraine, but it's a chemical attack.
I'm not going to get into a hypothetical situation about what may or may not happen, but we've been clear. I mean, and also, okay, to be perfectly frank, it's never helpful for us to set out in advance what we may or may not do in such a situation. We wouldn't want to tell the enemy what the response might be. It just wouldn't make any sense. But our message has been very clear from the start, is that any kind of attack, anything that touches NATO territory or impacts NATO in any significant way, then we would respond. But we don't set that kind of response in advance.
And this attack on the base, I believe that British military personnel have been housed there previously. Were there any there when this attack happened on the border?
I don't know the answer to that question.
OK. Are we still sending... What sort of arms shipments are we sending?
We have, I mean, so far we have supplied, I think, probably more than any other country, Ukraine, with weapons. I think there's something like 3,615 anti-tank weapons, the so-called sort of NLAW anti-tank weapons, and they've helped Ukraine significantly so far. And the Defence Secretary has also said that we are considering sending some other weapons, including the Starstreak weapon, which is a anti-aircraft missile system, and also the Javelin anti-tank missile system.
OK. Talk to me about these little ones that have got cancer and have arrived in the UK. What's the plan?
Well, yeah, so yesterday we received 21 very ill Ukrainian children with cancer. These are all children, innocent children, of course, that have been forced to leave their home because of the Russian invasion, and they were all receiving treatment in Ukraine. They'll now be cared for by our incredible NHS staff, all here in the UK. And I'm also just very grateful to all our partners that have helped to make this happen, the Polish government in particular, and of course the NHS, to get these children out over the weekend with their families. And all in different parts of the UK, there's 6 NHS hospitals that will eventually receive them and give them the treatment that they need.
And how long are they allowed to stay?
As long as necessary, really. And so in the first instance, just to get them out very quickly, they were all given 6-month visas, but we're going to extend that to at least 3 years. But it'll be up to them. And whilst they're here, it's the children with their mothers, in 1 or 2 cases with carers, some siblings. I think it's 49 people in total. And I just think it's great that we can help in this way. And we said right from the start, we will stand with the people of Ukraine and help in any way that we can.
And they can stay for up to 3 years?
At least, yeah. And beyond that, it will be up to them to decide what they wish to do. But at least for 3 years, they'll be here, and the children in particular will get all the medical treatment that they need.
OK. What about finally, we're pulling our finger out and families can come to the UK, but they have to be, families in the UK who want to offer a home have to have the name of a Ukrainian family. How's that going to work?
Well, it will work with the charities that we are working closely with. So there are a number of charities, especially on the ground in Poland and in Moldova. And they're already receiving these charities with the help of those respective governments, a number of people. There are people that have already or will certainly continue to express an interest in coming to the UK. And through those charities, through the website that's going live later this week, they will be connected. And that is how a host will be able to say, I will take a family of this size, maybe a mother with 2 or 3 children, and I've got enough space for them, and they will be connected and put together. And so,
a cap on the number of people that can come?
No, there's no cap, and there shouldn't be, because we don't know sadly where this war is going to end. We've seen that there's already millions of refugees. There will be many more, but it's an open offer for any British family to extend its hand and offer shelter and support. Do
you acknowledge that it's taken us too long to get to where we are?
No, I think it's been a difficult process in responding to this. We were actually one of the first countries to offer humanitarian support, over £400 million of support so far. I think more bilaterally than any other country. We've talked about the weapons and the military support for my part in my department, as well as what we've just talked about helping these children. We've already sent 7 flights of vital medicines, medical equipment, medical supplies. I think I've got another one leaving today. We've done more in terms of medical supplies than any country. So I think collectively we're doing a huge amount as a country to help, and it's right that we do.
But you know how big-hearted Britons are. You know that they will open their doors to people if they possibly can.
And they will with this scheme.
There have been a lot of barriers put in their way up until now, and thankfully it's coming into place now. All I'm saying is, do you acknowledge that potentially that should have happened earlier?
Look, I think everyone would have wanted to see help to Ukrainian refugees as much as we can, as quickly as we can. But it's also worth saying, as a country, we do have a very proud record of offering sanctuary to people fleeing conflict and war, with the thousands of Syrians and Afghans that have been resettled, with the support for over 100,000 Hong Kong nationals that have applied under the scheme the Prime Minister set out last year. And then again with Ukraine, we will absolutely play our part and make sure we are giving refuge to those that need it.
Quicker, couldn't it?
Well, it's happening.
It's happening now. We also know that the Prime Minister is heading to Saudi Arabia over the next day or so to talk about oil. It's a big challenge given the sanctions against Russia. Saudi Arabia executed 81 people over the weekend. Are we turning a blind eye to the world's evils in order to get enough oil to keep the lights on?
Look, we have a long-standing relationship with Saudi Arabia, and I can certainly tell you in the time that I've been in government under 3 prime ministers, we've always had a very candid and frank relationship with Saudi Arabia, where wherever there are human rights issues, we have raised them with them, and we can do that because we have this relationship. But we also have an economic relationship with Saudi Arabia. We're not dependent directly as a country on their oil, but energy prices and access to energy is a hugely important issue. So I'm pleased that we can have this relationship with Saudi Arabia where we can talk about the human rights issues as well as our longer-term economic relationship.
Do we have to hold our nose to do business with a country that chops people's heads off?
Well, look, as I said, we've got a candid, frank relationship with them. It's a very important country for us, and I think it is right that the Prime Minister is leading this effort to engage Saudi Arabia even more so in the events that we're seeing unfolding now.
Talk to me about Lebedev, if you would please, Lord Lebedev. You tweeted in August 2020 that Lebedev is a first-generation immigrant Britain can be very proud of. Do you still think that?
Yes, well, I think we can be proud of people that have settled in the UK and helped build British businesses and given support for many charities and good causes. I've got no reason to doubt anything that I've said there. But obviously you're asking me this because of the recent reporting around Lebedev receiving a peerage. Yeah. And anyone who receives a peerage in the UK, they all have to be vetted by the House of Lords Nominations Commission.
But if the security services
in this case, it's no different.
Yeah, but if the security services say it's a security risk, and the Prime Minister keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and saying, no, I want him to be a Lord, surely if our security services, who are the best in the world, say, I don't think so, he may well be a security risk, surely we should take notice of that.
Well, first of all, I agree that our security services are the best in the world. I've had the privilege to work with them for many years. Yeah, and it is right that for the House of Lords Nomination Commission, if they need to seek information from any other part of the UK authorities, then they should do so.
They should then keep his knighthood?
No, but then they should take that into account. And the Nominations Commission should take that into account and then complete its vetting process. And that's exactly what's happened here.
And you're comfortable with him keeping his lordship?
Yes, I am.
OK. Final, we're almost out of time. I just want to ask you about Deltacron and Stealth Omicron. Where are we with all of that?
Well, we keep the situation very carefully under review. There's no other variant of concern out there that is an issue at this point in time. We have seen some rises in infections over the last week, but given the increase in social mixing, this was to be expected. So the situation at the moment is stable. No, there's no particular concern at this point in time.
OK, thank you for joining us on the programme. Much
Thank you.
appreciated. Thank you.